Hello, my name is Susan Rakhsh. I'm an Iranian sociologist, researcher, writer, and women's rights advocate. Iranian women have played a significant role in the liberation movements in our country throughout our history. In addition to their participation in the liberation movements, they have had to have women's movement and fight for their own rights. Uh, Unfortunately, we don't have too much knowledge about our history of our women's movement. The history we have is going back almost 200 years ago. The reason for that is that our historians were usually men, and due to their uh, patriarchal understanding and perspective, they always excluded women and they didn't write about it. But this 200 years history we have shows that women's movement in Iran was very, very brutal, difficult, and they paid huge price for their rights. They were harassed, they were jailed, tortured, and killed. The first woman in Iran was killed was Tahira Qurratul Ain. She was killed by authoritarian authorities in 1850. But women didn't stop, didn't give up. They fought hard. And this struggle continued until Iranian women gained some basic rights in Iran. And this was the result of our mothers and grandmothers' hard work. They gained the right to vote, right to child custody, to study, and some basic rights. Unfortunately, 47 years ago, we fought against the authoritarian king in Iran, and we fought for democracy and freedom. But our revolution failed, and traditionalist Islamists gained power in Iran. Immediately after they gained power, they eliminated all our rights, and our struggle started from the 0 point. After the revolution failed, the new regime started to arrest and kill all resistant groups, including women. And many of us were forced to flee the country and to live in exile. I was one of them. And in spite of all challenges and all difficulties the life in exile brought to me, I had one positive aspect in this new life. I got a chance to meet women from different countries, to participate in assemblies and forums, and meet very distinguished women, scholars like Nawal al-Sadawi, Fatma, and many others. I had the chance to increase my knowledge about women's movement, about different form of feminist movements globally. Later, I studied sociology and I chose the field of social movements, specifically feminist movements, as the field of study. I conducted a comparative research on feminist movement in Iran and Egypt. The result of my study was published in a book titled MENA Feminist Movement in Political Turbulences. The goal of my research was to find answer to two questions. One, do we need a transnational feminist movement in our region? The second question was, if yes, can we establish a transnational feminist movement? So the answer to my questions through my research was that yes, we have a lot of common issues. We have a lot of points in our histories that a transnational feminist movement is necessary for our region. And yes, we are able to establish a transnational feminist movement because we have a lot of experiences, different countries, different situation, and we could deal with many difficult situations. So we had a good experience, and we can establish a transnational feminist movement. I lived with this idea for several years until 5 years ago. A group of Iranian feminists established a campaign against honor killing in Iran. I was a member of the international committee of the campaign. One of the tasks of the committee was to invite our fellow sisters from different countries and exchange experiences with them and ask them to tell us about the situation in their countries, about violence against women, particularly honor killing in their countries. So through these activities, we established a group of women from different countries, and we started to work on a transnational feminist movement. After several meetings, after a process, we succeeded to establish Women Solidarity Network. This network had different goals. So today, women from Afghanistan, Iran, Turkey, Syria, Egypt, and Morocco are members of this network. We hope that our fellow sisters from other countries in the region join us, and it can help us to be very strong and to have a strong voice and force the patriarchal ears to hear us and to listen to us. Uh, in this, one of the tasks in our network is to know each other better and to get to develop our knowledge about women's movement in different countries in the region. So in this regard, we decided to conduct a series of podcasts. My dear friend and co-founder of the network, Fatma Aytac from Turkey, and I will host these podcasts. And we hope that through this podcast, we can gain more data and more knowledge about our movement. And based on this, we can establish a strong platform for women's movement in our region. So here I am with my good friend Fatma Aytac, and Fatma, thank you for being here. And I will ask you, what is your opinion about? First, I will that you introduce yourself and to tell us a little about Turkish feminist movement and your opinion about a transnational feminist movement in our region. Please, the microphone is yours.
Yes, thank you, Susan. Thanks for inviting me, having me in this podcast as the first, as the first person. I'm really appreciated. As you said, I am Fatma Aytac. I am an industrial engineer. I am not a sociologist. And human rights advocate. I serve as the chairwoman of Kırmızı Biber Association, and co-chair of Women's Party in Turkey. The feminist movement in Turkey today is very vibrant, very resilient, and deeply rooted in decades of struggle. We are facing multiple layered challenges and we are organizing across all of them with strong network of solidarity. As the core of our work is to fight to end violence against women and girls. This is the core study. I think this is valid for all over the world. Since Turkey's withdrawal from Istanbul Convention, I mentioned this everywhere, in 2021, feminist organizations have been actively mobilizing to demand its reinstatement. At the same time, we continue to work with municipalities and local institutions to ensure that convention standards are applied in practice, even in the national signature has been removed from the convention. But the struggle goes far beyond the violence, you know. We also addressing gender inequality in different laws. For instance, inheritance law, family law, debates around the alimony, increasing restriction on the reproductive rights, and nowadays criminalization of LGBTI plus movement. Gender discrimination in education, women's unemployment, feminization of poverty, and especially among mothers and children. These are the central issues in our agenda nowadays. These issues keep resurfacing, introduce legislative proposals, and then after the resistance, they are end up being the withdrawal. But you know, we are in alert. We are living in an alert situation. The feminist movement in Turkey is not isolated. It is collective, intersectional, and organized movement. Kırmızı Biber Association in English, Red Pepper Association is part of the Women's Coalition in Turkish Kadın Koalisyonu and one of the founding members of Women's Platform for Equality. And we always worked in solidarity with many grassroots organizations and local women's organizations around the country. We believe that change comes from collective power, shared knowledge, and continuous resistance. And, you know, despite the political pressure, shrinking civic space, and backlash against gender equality, the feminist movement remains one of the most dynamic forces in Turkey today. I will talk about the transnational solidarity as the time being, but let me finish here about the Turkish feminist movement.
Okay, you were one of the first who supported the transnational feminist movement for the region. And it was very good for me that some fellow sisters supporting this idea so strongly. So why was the purpose? Why do you believe that this is necessary and we can do it?
Yes, you're right. I have been a part of one feminist network since the beginning, since the early
Yeah.
days. It was created women across the region, especially from Iran. In fact, Iranian. I mean, it started with Iranian women, as far as I remember. I was not one of the founders, but I think I am the one who is most supported the the movement. Thank you for your appreciation. I mean, I do appreciate your leadership as well. And I think this is necessary. I do believe that the necessity is very clear, very real. So let me explain a little bit. First,
Please.
how one of women's solidarity network was founded. As far as I remember, the honor killing campaign, as you said, had a seminar in a couple of years ago. I was one of the speakers, and after this seminar, I was proposed to be a part of the new network. Uh, and I mean, it came to very close to me. I mean, I was even thinking about it whenever I go to the international, meetings, international panels. I'm always thinking about why don't we have a kind of solidarity in our for our region. So one took more space, no, more steps, 2 years during TCSW meetings when the women activists from Turkey, Iran, Syria came together at a parallel event, joint organized by Women's Coalition and Kırmızı Biber Association, with the participation of women from different countries of the same region, the group expanded. And we got excited, in fact, and decision was made to establish the network. And we established we created logo, we created social media accounts very easily and very quickly. So I saw the excitement among the feminists from our region. And today, as you said, network continues with participation of activists from United States, Canada, mostly the women from our region, Germany, Sweden, Norway, Syria, Iran, and Egypt. And Tunisia, you said.
Morocco.
Morocco.
Yes.
Morocco. Yes. And we are trying to expand it. I mean, covering all over the countries in our region for sure. And the struggle does not stop at national borders. We carry out the movement into international solidarity spaces at the United Nations, transnational feminist networks, and through global advocacy platforms because the challenges women face are shared across countries, cultures, and regions. I mean, this is beyond borders. And gender based violence, inequality, and discrimination are global issues and systematic problems. We know that the feminist agenda, feminist struggle anywhere strengthen the feminist struggles, the other part of the world. So we continue to expand our network, and we do believe that we need to do it.
Thank you. You mentioned violence against women. This is a huge global issue. I can say women's movements all over the world has this issue on their agendas because this is the violence against women has different forms, different results. Many women are losing their lives every
Yes,
year, not just in our region, not even in Europe, even in
yes,
the Western countries, the women have been killed by
yes,
men, and this is a huge problem. And we have other types of the violence against women, rape, sexual harassment, sexual torture, and many other forms. So now the definition of violence is very broad and has many forms: psychological, sexual, verbal, physical, and you name it. I think uh, based on all these struggles, several international conventions were ratified by the United Nations, and many national laws have been ratified to protect women and to fight against violence against women. Our region, I think, is one of the worst. And the woman in our region suffers of many different forms of violence, honor killing, domestic violence, social violence, political violence. We have all type of it. And one of the worst type, which I think is only in our region is gender apartheid. Gender apartheid is an extreme type of violence that women are not considered as a human, and their destiny is on the hand of boys and men of the family. They cannot do anything. They have no rights. Absolutely no. In Afghanistan, the girls cannot go to a school even. They've lost their rights to study. And imagine, they cannot go out of the house without a male person
Guardian.
to follow them outside. Even a little boy, just imagine. So this is a huge problem in our region. And one of the issues today we deal with is extremist militant Islamist groups. We are not talking about Islam as a belief or religion. I will point this out. That is not what we are talking about. We are talking about Islamism as a political issue, as a political movement, which is very, very misogynist. And for example, we know the history of IS, how many women was abducted and tortured and sold. And we have horrible, horrible history of violence. So I think one of the issues we must focus on is this. Uh, our struggle against Islamist groups and their misogynist beliefs and misogynist treatment of women. So I will ask you, what do you think about that? What is your opinion, and what do you think our network can do about that?
Yes, yeah, I share your opinion about the problem in our region, really. But we must be very careful talking about this religious oppression. Violence against women is a global issue, as you said, but in our part is really uh, more systemic and different shapes, and they do weaponize religion
Mm,
to oppress women. Uh, for instance, like the places like Afghanistan or Iran,
mm,
not simply cultural or religious reality. It is a political power using the religion
yeah.
as a tool to control women's bodies, their choices, their visibility. Uh, I do not want to frame it as a problem of Islam. It is, as I said, it is a patriarchal problem. Across the world, all the religions and political systems, patriarchy always try to justify itself through ideology, sometimes religious, sometimes nationalist, sometimes even the name of tradition and family
Mm,
values. You know
mm,
it very well from the CSW meetings.
yeah.
In our region, political interpretation of religion has been weaponized to establish gender hierarchy, restrict women's participation in the public life. They do not want to see women in the public space. So yes, you're right. This is systemic, and some contexts. This is indeed function as gender apartheid. This is the most terrible size of oppression. Women are excluded from education, public space, employment, and even the basic legal pursuit. I mean, they are not visible. Women in Afghanistan are invisible right now. Really, it is so heartbreaking for me. So let's talk about how do we challenge it? How can we challenge it? I do believe that we can resist for it, we can make something, and we are doing as well. We have to have a cross-border feminist solidarity. This is what are doing for in our WANA network as well, because we had the similar struggles, and so we are fighting as a solidarity, amplifying women's voices inside the struggle. Change happens when the women most affected are not seen as a victims, but recognized as a leaders, strategists, narrators of their own experience. This is very empowering. It is very important. That is why our network is trying to do it. That is why we are handling this, this podcast. And another challenge we can fight is challenging the ideological justification itself. Patriarchy wants to speak in the name of religion, but there are countless feminist Muslim scholars, theologists, and activists who they show that equality, dignity, and justice are also deeply rooted values. So we need to listen to them. We need to amplify their voices, support them, and elevate their work. I think solidarity with these women, with all women in the region, is very important, and I think this can be the solutions to resist this extraordinary pressure, extraordinary suppression.
Thank you. In 1979, I think it was 1979, the United Nations ratified the CEDAW, elimination of all type of violence against women, which if we expand it, is going to be against the gender apartheid, against domestic violence, against social, political violence, every type of violence, even violence in war and conflicts. In our region, Iran and Afghanistan refused to ratify this declaration. 20 years ago, Iranian feminist movement put this issue on agenda and tried to make the government to ratify it. But even some Islamist women say it very clearly over our dead bodies that they were so strongly against it. So until now, they didn't ratify it, and they are strongly against it. But Turkey ratified this declaration, and many Arab countries ratified it. Some of them with some reservations. For example, in Egypt, in some parts of the CEDAW, they refused to ratify it. They argued that they are in contrast with their traditions and their Islamic beliefs. So, but was better than nothing. So I will ask you how it is in Turkey? Did the ratification of CEDAW affect women's rights in Turkey? And if yes, how?
Yes, thank you, Susan. The US also didn't ratify CEDAW.
Yes, yes, I know.
United States didn't ratify US, but because of the ratification, the process is so hard in US. Turkey, one of the first countries who signed the CEDAW, and ratification is 1985. So yes, sure, it had an impact on the legal reforms, especially in 1990s and 2000. CEDAW acted as a kind of important international framework that women's movement in Turkey used to advocate equality in family law, labor law, and criminal law. Let me give examples. I mean, CEDAW did not directly create these legal reforms, but legal reforms, the feminist activists defended the legal reforms taken the base of the CEDAW agreement. It played very important role on shaping their resistance, shaping their, struggle. Let me say that one of the reforms is made in 2001, Turkish Civil Code, which replaced husband legal status as the head of the family, redefined marriage as the partnership of equals. Before that, the husband was the reis, the head
Yeah,
of the,
the head of the
yeah,
family.
yes, head of the family. They call it reis. Similarly, in 2004, reform of the Turkish Penal Code, which strengthened protection against sexual violence and expanded definition of domestic and sexual assaults. For instance, marital rape was not a crime, but according to the new law, it's a crime, and so on like this. It's some terrible applications against women are redefined after this penal code. So, in this sense, CEDAW did not legislate the reforms itself, but it strengthened the legitimacy and effectiveness of women's movement defense for legal equality. There are so many examples, but let me finish here. It's over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Another issue I want to talk to you about is our situation, our woman activist situation. Some of us are inside of our countries, but some of us are either forced to live in exile or for personal or social reasons migrated and live outside the country. You are living in the USA and I'm living in Europe, and whether we accept it or not, our position affects our activities and our results. So we in outside the country, being in the diaspora, our role is mostly to be the voice of our fellow sisters in our countries and in the region. They are fighting in the very difficult, very horrible, I can say, in some countries like Afghanistan, like Iran, like Syria. Women are fighting in very horrible circumstances. And they need us to be their voice, to, in addition to support them, but we must attract support of Western powers and especially Western feminist movement. But one thing through my life and work in Europe, I experience is that some feminist movement, not all of them, but some of them have very universal perspective. They are universalist feminists, and the universalist feminists is that they believe that women's rights are universal rights and everybody has same rights, and the tactic and strategies the feminist movement must adopt it must be exactly same. In resistance to this idea, women in non-Western countries like Africa, Asia, our region, the WANA, developed the idea of cultural relativism. The cultural relativism, they argue that their rights and their struggle, it depends on their culture, on their customs, and on the social situation in their countries. So I believe both of them are wrong because we must accept the human rights and women's rights are global. We all have same rights. We all have same claims. But the situation, the political, social situation in different countries can affect our strategies and our tactics. For example, we in the recent years the women's life freedom movement started in our region and became a global movement almost and it's true, this is a global manifesto, I believe. But
Yeah.
how we can achieve this manifesto in different parts of the world can be different.
Mm.
We should have different tactics. We should think maybe something is very effective in Iran cannot be effective in Turkey.
Yeah, sure, sure.
And that's why I think that we must think and work on this issue too. I will ask your opinion. What do you think? You are living in the US, and you deal with the both black feminist movement in US and the liberal and white feminist movement there. And I'm dealing with the European feminist movement, and I was very much involved in migrant feminist movement in Europe, which we call it black feminist movement, not as a physical black woman, but because we are immigrants and we are not white, they call us black feminist movement, and I like it. So, what is your opinion? How do you deal with this issue in diaspora?
Yes, yeah, this is a very important issue. Every country's black is different. For instance, in Turkey, you may be white, one of the member of majority and very well established establishment. And if you migrate to another country, you are the black of that country. So, yeah, I believe that women everywhere is fighting the same fundamental rights:
Mm,
safety, dignity, equality, and freedom.
yeah.
We
Mm,
all ask to live in safe, to live in dignity. We want to be equal and we want to live in freedom. But the struggle changes according to the country, as you said. I mean, you cannot apply the same struggle in Turkey, in Iran, in
mm,
Afghanistan, and in United States. It's totally different. The fights are universal, but the way we fight, it depends on the political and social realities of the
mm,
countries we face. So women inside our countries carry the most difficult part of the struggle. I mean,
yeah.
the women who is, for instance, think about Afghanistan. The resistance movement in Afghanistan, I mean, they are living in a horrible condition. So we are just watching from outside. So
Mm,
they are under the repression, oppression, violence. I mean, they are risking their lives. This is a totally different situation. And the ones living in diaspora, like us, have responsibility to amplify their voices. First of all, we need to listen to them and we need to amplify their voices. And we need to use their words, I mean, we are not rephrasing it. We need to use their words. The relationship between feminist movement across regions must build a transnational solidarity. This is building solidarity network is a good solution. We need to do
mm,
it. Not on one side guiding the others.
mm,
This will be the network. This without hierarchy.
mm, exactly.
Yeah, women from different countries amplify each other's voices.
Mm,
share these tools, exchange experience, exchange idea, and build pressure together, but always the ways respect to local leadership, local voices. That is
mm,
what I do believe. Because I'm trying to represent Turkish women's movement in here in the United States.
mm,
Yes, we have the same problems, but struggle is very different. I mean, the struggle that works here doesn't work in Turkey. So
mm,
we need to listen to each other. We need to amplify our voices, taking into account the local voices, I believe. So we need from transnational allies in space, we need to give
mm,
space, amplifications, and solidarity rooted in equality. So women, you mentioned about women life freedom movement. I think it's a very important moment. It showed us the struggle born in one place and can inspire the whole world.
mm,
Now this moment, women life freedom moment is now it is not local, it is universal. So our challenges are shared, so our future. We rise all together, I do believe, and not at all. There is this saying in Turkey nowadays we are using a lot. If all together or none of us.
yeah. Thank you very much, Fatma. That was very nice to talk to you, and I hope we can continue our as a host of this podcast. And you can invite a woman and have a podcast with them, and I will try to invite a woman from different countries in the region and have continue this job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you for preparing this organization, preparing this podcast.
I hope
I
we
hope
can continue.
we can continue. Yes,
Yes.
thanks. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. You too.